Good morning, guys. This is your Spartan gladiator. Not a lot of people really want to talk about this because it's kind of a downer. But to me, it's something that I think needs to be expressed more. I want to talk about humanity. Saving humanity, protecting humanity, but not just humanity. So we have all of these things that surround us that are alive and living and are a part of humanity. We live in this world in a symbiotic relationship with everything, and we take so much from it that we're hurting it. And that doesn't help us. We have to learn as a unit, as a whole loving body, to love ourselves. There's a song that I love where it says, "We don't hurt each other, we can only hurt ourselves. We don't love each other, we can only love ourselves." And that, to me, speaks volumes in the way that we can only make this world better ourselves. If we sit back and we let it go back to a primal state, or we use up all the resources on it selfishly as a humanity, as a society, as humanity, not even a society, because society to us is only humans, right? I guess what I'm trying to make a point out of is we need to start doing better at loving everything. The world, the animals, taking care of things big and little. Humans and what's alike humans. Every living thing. I was sitting out here tonight, and I've been up all night long. The sun's coming out. And I walked back up here, and I was sitting, and I thought to myself, what if all of these animals out here had houses, and we could draw them out of being animals? What if all of these animals had houses and places to go to survive the winters instead of having to dig into stuff like this and be cold and alone and stay being animals? Because that's the only thing that stops them from becoming sentient and part of our humanity, part of our hearts, part of our love, part of the growing organism that the world is. They could be helping us right now instead of us fighting them, right? Because that's what people do. We hunt, we trap, we are grown into this world by humanity to fear and love and care and take and a whole jumble of different things that at the end of the day there's no real point that anybody is trying to make except just humans. I'll try not to make this drag on too long, but if we were to make, like, say, bears, for instance, they hibernate, they go into caves and stuff, and, by the way, that's my shelter. I got a wood shack that my stovepipe goes into and helps dry it, and that's my door I go down in. My water in there is still liquid, and I haven't run the wood stove in 5 days. I just sit outside of this sometimes to warm up at the end of the night, and start doing stuff again in the morning because daylight comes and I can do... Hey, my crows are here. Good morning, buddy. What are you doing? You come say hello? They always come around in the morning. Sometime we'll see the raven. The raven will come by. He always sits and talks to me from this tree. But anyways, we got to start fixing everything, or we're all gonna die. We're never gonna make it off this earth. Birds, for example. Birds can fly because they know how to. Humans can't fly because we don't know how to. We didn't evolve that way. We evolved a completely different direction because we chose to. Do me a favor. After you watch this video, I want you to change how you act, your attitude towards life. Whenever something is there to help it. No matter what it is. You know, I stayed up 2 nights ago, or a night ago, or whatever, I can't remember. It's been a couple days. And I was sitting outside a store, and I noticed where everyone parks, the employees, was still all slushy and not plowed out and stuff. And I spent 40 minutes or something like that shoveling it at 3 o'clock in the morning and 1 degree weather in these, you know? And it's all about your heart, you know? I feed my crows and I talk to them, and I have rabbits and all sorts of things that come around. And, you know, if we as human beings can teach each other how to be human beings and love, respect, appreciate, and do good for others, and we can teach that as humanity and as a society to every living thing on this earth. Everything on this earth that lives, breathes, walks, eats, farts is smart. Imagine if you could go to school with animals. And I guarantee dogs, they're service dogs, they're service animals, they're smart, you know? There's people out there that have taught their dogs how to drive freaking trucks, you know? I've seen dogs freaking drive motorcycles before, you know? It's really cold out, and as humanity goes, we're really cold. We gotta stop focusing on ourselves and start focusing on everything, you know? As a Spartan, which if you want to do the research on it, it's a little hazy because time and everything has destroyed mostly everything. Leonidas isn't a name. Leonidas is a mispronunciation of an old dead language. It actually means the lions. The lions were the leaders. The tigers were the students. If you want to do real Spartan history, and it, you know, not a lot of that stuff was written down for fear that it would be taken. It was just taught from one generation of Spartans to the next. Went lions and tigers. You can choose to stay, it goes tigers are students and lions are the leaders. You can choose to stay a tiger if you want, and that's a choice, which is honorable. You're always a student, but you're still a leader, you know, or you can become a lion, which is a leader that teaches the next generation, right? Basically, as a Spartan, as a boy, we grew up in the woods, and at some point in time, the Spartan leaders, the lions, would come down and they would flush us all out and see who would come to Sparta. I was not part of that. I actually ran away from the group and was found later on by another group of children that was out in the woods, and they took me in. I was a little bit older, and eventually, after stealing and surviving and all of that, when it came time that one of my very best brothers came and said that they're coming, I knew what was going to happen, so I said, no, we need to go with them, because that's, you know, none of them knew that. They were going to run into the woods like I did, but I was like, no, this sucks. We need to go where this is, where this is. But one day we went out for a patrol, and a Roman legion came over the hill, and we started laying hate to them. And I was like 100 yards in front of all my guys because we were Spartans and we were whooping. And I turn around and all my guys were leaving because like 800 more, it was only like 25, 30 of us. Like 800 Romans came up over the side of the hill, and they were like, nope, we need to beat feet. And they didn't even realize they left me. And the Romans took me prisoner. And after 8 months or something of sitting in a Coliseum cell, rotting to the floor and being beaten every day, they finally came in to remove my corpse because they thought I was dead, and the last little bit of energy I had reserved to grab one of their legs, so they would see that I was a fighter, that I wasn't going to give up, because I knew that there was some sort of sport or something, with a Spartan going into some place where the language is kind of broken but similar. You pick up on little things by listening through time and metal and rock, My Spartan name was Crisis. I'm Cries. My brother named that to me one day as we were training in our cell, because Spartans would put us in a cell as boys, as young men, teenagers, 14 or 15 years old, to start our combative training, fighting each other with swords every day and bare knuckle fighting and bleeding and picking each other's scabs. And, you would get cut up every day to the point where you couldn't do it alone because you would go insane. You needed your brothers to help you because you would get down to your 25th scab or whatever, where you'd take sand and you'd basically get rid of it because it was stopping you from performing. Like, you'd get a cut on your knee or something and you couldn't go like that all the way, and you'd do your physical therapy with your brothers to help you. And some people went insane from it because what we call the itch would get them and they wouldn't stop. They couldn't stop. You know how when you got an infection real bad or something and you itch it and then you stop itching it, it just gets so much worse for a time? Anyways, I was a gladiator for 8 years because the Romans came in to get rid of me, and I grabbed one of their legs, and it was like, wow, he's a fighter, let's fight him. And they used to pit me against elephants and tigers and men and lions all at the same time. And my Spartan name changed because I was in Rome, in the Colosseum, and it became Crixus, which actually from the Romans was saved, and they managed to derive it and make the name, right? Crixus, Spartan gladiator. And what Crixus means is brother and sister, two swords, because that was my preferred fighting style, was two swords. Crixus, so cry, Crixsis, Crixus, Crixis. But anyways, after 8 years of that, they would keep us all in the same cell because it was a blood sport and they wanted us to fight constantly. It was how we earned our freedom. So they said, after 12 years of fighting, you were allowed to go. If you stayed alive for 12 years, you were allowed to go. I got to about the 8th year where they were giving me my own food through a door slot or whatever, but still in the same, I got my food separately from everybody else, right? Everybody got fed on a different schedule than I did. I got my food and everyone else got their food because I was the champion. And I pulled the guard through the door and dispatched him and took his keys, and I told everyone in the cell to go that way. As I stayed in the doorway, they all went by, and I went left and went down the hall, bounced off 2 guards, went out the cellway door because you could go out and it would go out like this and it was open. And I took off. And I stayed in Rome for another 1.5 to 2 years to figure the lay of the land. And I couldn't figure it out because I was in an alien place. And I decided that to get enough coin and a horse and the knowledge and maps to get back to Sparta, I was going to go to the capital and claim to be a man from Gaul. Now, you can do your research on this. Look up the man from Gaul in Rome that was a general. I went to the capital, and the Capiola, or whatever. Hi, crows. What doing? I've been here the whole time, dudes. I just sleep a lot. And I I went to him and I said, I'm a man from Gaul. And at this time, I'd grown facial hair. I had covered my scars. I had lost a lot of weight. I got rid of all my fighting muscles by fasting and eating correctly. I basically became a Spartan assassin from the Creed, if you guys believe in that. But it was a real thing. There was a lot of them back then. And they were everywhere, people that believed in the freedom of the people and less government and everyone is equal. And I went to the Capitola, or Gaviola, and I claimed to be a very smart man from Gaul, which was an allied nation or a neutral nation next to Rome. And I said that I wanted to be a general and that I knew a lot and I wanted to lead them through conquest and stuff, and they said yes. And I fought a couple battles for them and managed to get my hands on a couple maps, and I did that for a couple years until I had enough money to get a good horse and enough knowledge of the land from traveling through conquestial battles and stuff. And I got a bunch of maps together and I went back to Sparta. Now, when I walked to the gate, they automatically came out and held spears down at me and said, "Who are you, stranger?" And I explained myself. And they were awestruck. They were like, "No, we don't believe you. We're taking you to the queen." And I was like, "Well, that's what I want. I need to talk to her." And they put me in shackles and they led me at spear point through Sparta. And I saw a bunch of my brothers walk past, and there was three or four of them right up front that had survived, that had remembered me from when we were children training together, through all of that. And their eyes lit up. They were like, no, how? Nope, don't believe it. Really? Is that you? Cries? And, yeah, anyways, I ended up being a Spartan again, having all of my honors restored, and yeah, they thought I died that day, and I didn't. And shortly after that, another 2 years passed, and we got wiped off the map. We fought for 8 days, and I must have had 6,000 men under my belt. I ended up losing all of the toes on this foot from a sword drag. I lost my stuff, and my whole entire right arm from just below the wrist got cut off at a point at the very last seconds of my life, where at the end of it I managed to take out 3 guys with my sword arms. So that's where Baraka from Mortal Kombat comes from. That's what I looked like. If you could imagine, all his spikes were bleeding cuts. I didn't have any hair at that point because through Spartan training we got a lot of scars. From one of our leaders, I ended up cutting the tip of his nose off one day because the Spartan training was really intense and they used to do stuff to us that was insane. They would indoctrinate us in drugs and alcohol. They would basically put us through what would be like Navy SEAL, like Russian Spetsnaz, like dog blood room drug crap, right? And I came unglued one day, and I got into it with the leaders, and I stopped them from doing that to us anymore. I ended up cutting the very tip of our leader's nose off. He had his helmet on and he came down. Oh, look up QWERTY on YouTube from, One Shot Heard Across the World. We're going to bring it to a head. We're going to show the world that it was once said, whatever the cost, we will never surrender, leave none abandoned or lost. Yes, sir. Anyways, that song's about me. I came back. What seemed like the very next day. And, yeah, it was nuts. But humanity, no matter what you go through, No matter what happens, you have a purpose. You have love, you have respect, and you have a family. Everything is our family. Everything deserves to be fought for, loved, cherished, and appreciated. Right, crows? And yeah, so that's why I am the way I am. That's why I'm so dang hard to kill. I refuse. When I was in the cells in Rome, when I was rotting to the ground, my soul was encased in what seemed like a tiny grain of sand. And that tiny little grain of sand was my hope and my love and my pureness, pretty much, for my home, my loves, my brothers, my sisters, my family, which, where I live right now, in this region, we actually have a Sparta, which is crazy to me. It's crazy that I'm back, and this is the only place on earth that I think has a Sparta. This is Sparta. That's what we say. And I'm back. And we need to focus on helping everybody, no matter if they're sick, broken, breaking, dying, or too good for themselves. Because all of those things, every single one of those things has a key that can unlock them. When I was a child, I went through, in this life, in this one right here, I went through a lot of abuse where my father would, shoot at the house and tell me to go get beer and stuff. I hit a telephone pole once, and just beatings, and I was raped, and, just a whole bunch of stuff. And I refused to give up. I refused to let go. My brothers and my sisters and the people that I cared most about is what kept me alive. And I'm back. I lived through all of that junk again, pretty much. I couldn't take a shower without having the door kicked in and a knife thrown through the shower curtain and exploded. It went through in between my head and my left hand and almost took my eyeball out of my skull. And that was the day that I learned what shell shock was. Well, actually, I knew what shell shock was before that, but I've never been exploded before, And yeah, so it's daytime now, and this is a 23-minute long video. I just want you to do me that solid and do something good today so we have a better tomorrow. And the thing about having a better tomorrow is that it'll be a little bit easier because, one, they'll see you as someone with a big heart, and they'll appreciate you, and you'll get your return on it. And in that aspect, you can give back a lot more, because when you get a return, you can give it back. It's like investing. You put $3 in, and at the end of 4 days, you make 13 cents or 14 cents. And at the end of those days, you make 25 cents. But you always put it back into the stock so you can keep making money, but you're actually giving money to them to keep growing. Help everybody grow. Like and Sermits, because they need it to grow. Okay? Everything. Oh, and if anybody knows where my wallet is, I lost my wallet somewhere. It's brown. I've had it for going on 14 years now, and my uncle Will, who died of cancer, gallbladder cancer, gave that to me, and it has my social security card in it and a picture of my son and just a lot of stuff. So yeah, let's go, guys. Love ya.